structure of DNA. Very famous. He's still working, still doing a lot of research. Now he pointed out this. This is quite important also to realize. When we have cells that turns malignant or transformed, usually we have a mechanism to get rid of that cell. It's called apoptosis. It is, I would call it, the body's self-destruct mechanism for rogue cells. Cells which have gone bad, it dies. But it can escape to be cancerous, to be grow into a cancer. These cells must escape this mechanism or apoptosis. And for cancer to kill you, it usually spreads to other organs, called metastasis. And for cancer, when there are a lot of cancers that we treat with chemotherapy, radiotherapy, after a while, the cancer cells get resistant. Why do they do that? They can only do that when they accumulate a large quantity of antioxidants in the cells. Because the mechanism for killing them is the oxygen radicals. So these cells must produce a lot of antioxidants. And you know what? Modern supplements are full of vitamins and full of antioxidants. Well, we may be taking all this not just to grow cancer, but to perpetuate cancer. So this is what is claimed by James Watson. I think it's going to have a lot of impact on our understanding of colorectal cancer. The fourth thing to say is that colorectal cancer takes years to form. It's not like yesterday. Therefore, when you want to do any preventive measures, you start from the very young. This is the process of colorectal cancer formation. This is from normal. That side is normal, and then you form a cancer. It grows abnormal, it grows small polyps, polyps become bigger, they can transform, they become cancerous. On average, this process takes 8 to 10 years. Inside you don't know, it takes 8 to 10 years. And then to have the factors that initiate this, you need 7 more years. So it takes about 30, 40 years. If you want to say certain factors cause this, you need to do something at the very young. So when you take your children, grandchildren, you spoil them by taking them to buffet, try to control them a little from the very young. And this is corroborated. You know, breast cancers are very, very common in the United States and in the United Kingdom. 10 years ago or 5 years ago, breast cancer in these countries was the commonest cause of death, cancer death in these countries. But not today. The last 5 years, the new figures has come out. The most common cause of death in women in these countries is lung cancer. Why is this? Because in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 60s, women started to smoke a lot. It's a very significant increase in smoking in women. And in the 60s they do that. Now we're beginning to see the result. So it takes a long time. It does not mean you don't smoke yesterday, you are all right. It takes a long time for this cancer to take its place. Therefore, any protection, any programs, we need to start to people from very young. Okay, that's the general background. I think it's important to understand that before we go into the details of diet. Now we have very good data on lifestyle and diet which cause and do not cause cancer. This, we have very good instruments, case control. We have randomized control trials with meta-analyses. Very, very good, robust data. And this is what we have. Red and processed meat. Processed meat means sausages, and for people who eat hams and bacon, this will be processed meat. Red meat means beef, mutton, pork, horse meat, rabbit. So yeah, that horse meat into your food chain, horse meat. If you eat less than 50 grams a day, or less than half a kilogram a week, it is very safe. But if you take more than that, especially when it's more than 100 grams a week, then it is a risk. I was just in the States, in Texas, in Austin, Texas. I ordered a steak. They said, you want 1 pounder, 2 pounders, 1.5 pounders. 2 pounders is a kilo. One steak is a kilo. That's how much they eat. And they can eat 7 days a week. So it's a lot. So we don't eat that much. It accounts for 20%. Red meat and processed meat account for about 20% of all colorectal cancer in the United Kingdom. Alcohol. Good thing we don't drink alcohol here. But if you drink more than 3 glasses a day, it's an increased risk. We account for 11%. Smoking increases the risk. You have 10 cigarettes, 20 cigarettes is worse than 10 cigarettes. The more cigarettes you smoke, the worse it is. So it accounts for about 8%. Now, what are the protective fibers? This is quite, now it was recently published in the BMJ, and it's after so many years of analysis and tests, we now accept, and it's quite well documented. I think the data is very good, that fiber, dietary fiber, is protective against colorectal cancer. But it is not processed fiber, not fibrogel. You take fibrogel, it's processed fiber. It has to be natural fiber, especially from whole grain, from cereal, from fresh fruits and vegetables. Not artificial fiber. And that doesn't help. It sometimes makes it worse. So, natural fibers, you take more than 90 grams a day, it protects against colorectal cancer. We also know that aspirin can protect against colorectal cancer, because I did say that one of the mechanisms for formation of colorectal cancer is inflammation associated with some of the bacteria. Aspirin is an anti-inflammatory drug. So it is well documented that it can reduce the risk of colorectal cancer. So if you are on aspirin for your heart, for your vessels, you have the bonus of having less colorectal cancer. But it has to be after 5 years. The effect can only be seen after 5 years. You take aspirin every day, 100 milligrams a day for 5 years, then you see the protective effect. If you started today, then you're going to wait 5 years before you see the effect. Now, obesity, if you are fat over BMI of 30, then it increases the risk of colorectal cancer. Now I'm going into lifestyle. Diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, increases the risk. And exercise, vigorous exercise, 3 times a week, 20 minutes, 3 times. Vigorous means that your heart rate is 70% over your normal heart rate. You maintain that by 20 minutes, 3 times a day. It has a protective effect. And one thing that is important to know, is ready